Hello, BookTube. I've got a tiny bit of mail for you today, perfectly small and easily handleable. It's just one periodical and a couple of packages. Surely we cannot get into trouble with one periodical and a couple of packages. The periodical is the TLS, the London Times Literary Supplement, the greatest English language literary review of them all. It starts off with a review. It's in fact right there on the title on the cover there. On that new book by Bernard Baylant about Bruno Scholz, which is really sticking with me. The reviewer here is Boris Drelyuk, and he reviews a new collection from the Pushkin Press of stories by Bernard Scholz, but he also reviews Benjamin Baylant's book about Scholz. That's going to be really, really interesting to read. It's a nice, long, generous piece. Lots of things in here that look interesting, but also a neat little response in the letters page from the University of Chicago, a writer at the University of Chicago, who takes the words right out of my mouth. I saw this in a review in the TLS earlier, and I thought about writing a letter, but I like my letters to be really peppery. And this one would have only received a normal, everyday contradiction of a writer who just didn't know what they were talking about. And the writer from the University of Chicago gives it one of those contradictions that the editors at the TLS, bless their hearts, thought was important to run. And I agree that it is. I was quite surprised to find Vernon White trying to defend the idea that the problem of evil was, to some extent, a problem for non-believers as well as theists. This is simply not the case. The non-theist does not have to worry about reconciling the existence of evil with the supposed existence of a benign and all-powerful deity. Evil needs to be accounted for by a non-theist, of course, but the materials for doing so are psychology, social and individual, cultural and historical studies, etc. And to say that the alternative to theism is some sort of hyper-reductive materialism, humans as chemical scum hurling through space on a rock, is mere rhetoric. An atheist can have, often does have, a sense of awe at our world, at what nature on its own has produced. To propose a conscious creator is to lessen the wonder, and to give yourself the headache of theodicy. That is entirely true. Theodicy is a branch of theological pretzel twisting that has to reconcile evil in the world in a theology that posits an all-knowing, all-benevolent, all-powerful God. There is no way to reconcile those two things. There simply isn't. Innocent creatures, not just humans, but innocent animals of all kinds, suffer horribly for no reason whatsoever. There is no way to reconcile that with the supposed tri-omni, all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-benevolent God. There is no way to do that. I remember that review, and I remember thinking, so you're in favor of this stupid straw man, that if you're a non-theist, if you're an atheist, well, then you must live in a barren, gray world, no bursts of color at all. You're just chemicals. You're just from the goo to the zoo to you. You're just the view that grifters like Frank Turek put this forward all the time, that atheists have to borrow their sense of enchantment in the world or wonder about the world from theists, because otherwise they would have none. Otherwise it would just be raw chemicals. As if well, we don't have to make it personal. We don't have to use the example of Frank Turek himself. But first of all, a fire and brimstone theist. Fire and brimstone theists have done more to remove a sense of wonder and enchantment from the world over the last 2,000 years than any other group of humans ever. And second, whether or not you believe in the existence of a ghost that lives inside your body and is immortal and is going to go to a parallel world where all of your dead friends get to be together at the same time. Whether or not you believe that, your child, your grandchild, your dog or cat that you love every day is a collection of chemicals. It is a collection of chemicals in various states and arrangements. There's no way to deny that. What you have to do is say, yeah, but there's more than that. The reason that I love them is because it's more than that. Which doesn't make any sense even on the terms of how you behave yourself. It's because you don't believe that a soul is capable of getting the flu, do you? No, of course you don't. You don't believe that a soul is capable of getting the flu, but you're not indifferent when your 4-year-old gets the flu. So obviously you care about the chemicals. It's just, theodicy is impossible in the theological worldview of a Christian. Theodicy is impossible. There are theological systems, theological gods, goddesses and whatnot, where theodicy is far more doable. if your gods don't pretend to be all-knowing, or if there are many of them, and they all have equal power, or relatively equal power, to hurt you, to change the course of your life, well, then theodicy becomes easier. Evil is in the world because such and such a God wants it to be in the world. But not in this case. In the case of Christianity, you are essentially driven into a little pen where your God is a sadomasochistic, torturing maniac who wants babies and young children to die in horrific circumstances because it's what? Good for them? Because it's good for them? Because it's part of God's mysterious plan for a child to get its face shot off in a mall in Texas? That is a horrifying plan. If the simple morality of ordinary earthbound walking chemical humans can see that, then anyway, I was happy that the letter was run. I doubt very much that the reviewer who was gently taken to task there will write a response. We'll go on to something else next time. But we have two packages here. Neither one of them is very big, so I don't have my hopes up for a whole lot here. But let's see what this first one is. Oh, it has some sort of paperwork attached. Oh my! All right, well I'll deal with the paperwork later. What have we got here? Oh, great. Okay, fantastic. All right, we've already done a fair amount of talking about this book on this channel. It doesn't come out until late September, or early September. But we've already done a fair amount of talking about it. I saw a review of it, I think, in the TLS, and very much was interested. And then I got an electronic copy and started to fiddle around with it and liked the cut of its jib very much. I was very tempted to get a copy at Book Depository, but no, no, it doesn't exist anymore. And now I have the American Galley. So this comes out in September. This is by Katja Hoyer, and it's called Beyond the Wall, A History of East Germany. And it is meant, another fantastic American cover design. Just, what's going on here? One of those steady rant materials that I had on this channel for years was how ugly American covers are. But I have no complaints with this. This is about East Germany, in which the author tries to dispel a lot of persistent myths about what a dystopian hellscape East Germany was. What springs to mind when you think of the German Democratic Republic? Most Westerners imagine a dreary, monotonous blur, or a walled-off Russian colony controlled by the Stasi. Others chuck the long-vanished country into a pile of fun facts about Cold War history. Acclaimed historian Katja Hoyer wants her native country to be remembered as much more than a historical footnote. Her native country. She was born in a country that doesn't exist anymore. Born in what was then the Wilhelm Pike-Stadt Gruben, she continued living in the former East Germany after the fall of Berlin, up until she graduated from university and moved to the UK. Setting aside the stereotypes of Stasi land that supposedly lay beyond the wall, she urges us to take a different look at the GDR, painting a more colorful picture than the typical black and white caricature. When the Iron Curtain fell in 1990, East Germany ceased to exist. For more than 40 years, from the ruins of World War II to the cusp of the new millennium, the GDR was a radically different Germany than what had come before or what exists today. In this new book, the author questions the grim outlook on the GDR to offer a new perspective toward a country that no longer exists. She reveals the rich political, social, and cultural landscape that developed amid oppression and hardship. So she's not denying the oppression and the hardship. By drawing on a vast array of documents and exclusive interviews which include politician Egon Krenz, one of the last leaders of the GDR, music entertainer Frank Schobel, and many regular citizens such as teachers, accountants, and factory workers, the author gives readers an enhanced idea of this unfamiliar Germany, showcasing all facets of the country from high politics to everyday life. East Germans went about their daily lives. They worked, got married, had children, went on holiday, and they made jokes about their politicians. Their stories deserve a place in the German narrative. I agree completely. Absolutely agree completely. That is just terrific. So this comes out in early September. Beyond the Wall. Great. Glad to have it. Then we have a box. I would ordinarily be overjoyed by a box, but this thing is tiny. This cannot possibly have anything of wonder in it. This is probably going to be something, a slim volume of poetry or something like that. What do we got here? Ew. Okay. First thing was an invoice. We don't need that. What have we got here? Oh, goodness. Okay. All right. This comes out in October. This is by Angus Deaton, who was the winner of the Nobel Prize, and it's called Economics in America. An immigrant economist explores the land of inequality. My. So it'd be winging its way out to David Murphy. Or should I hold it on the chance that he will come and wing his way out to me? Okay, so this has blurbs on the back, so we won't deal with that. But do you have a description that you can give me? Oh yes, here we go. When economist Angus Deaton immigrated to the United States from Britain in the early 1980s, he was awed by America's strength and shocked by the extraordinary gaps he witnessed between people. This book explains in clear terms how the field of economics addresses the most pressing issues of our time, from poverty, retirement, and minimum wage to the ravages of the nation's uniquely disastrous healthcare system, and it narrates the author's account of his experiences as a naturalized U.S. citizen and academic economist. He is witty and pulls no punches. In this incisive, candid, and funny book, he describes the everyday lives of working economists, recounting the triumphs as well as the disasters, and tells the inside story of the Nobel Prize in economics and the journey that led him to Stockholm to receive one, just like Jed Bartlett. He discusses the ongoing tensions between economics and politics and the extent to which economics has any content beyond the political prejudices of economists, and reflects on whether economists bear at least some responsibility for the growing despair and rising populism in America. Okay. All right, well, as tempted as I am to leave this here in the hopes that it will tempt David Murphy to come for another visit, now I really want to get it to him just to watch blood flow out of his nose and steam erupt from his ears. Just with that description alone. We shall see, though. This doesn't come out until October. Plenty of time to dispose of it. I don't see myself reviewing this directly myself. I don't think I know enough. I don't think I know enough about the subject to do this, but I've reviewed other economics books. I don't always do the best job in the world, but I guarantee you my reviews are entertaining. But anyway, that is the mail. 2 books that don't come out until the autumn. A long, hot summer intervenes between then and now, the summer that is coming. The more I think about it, the more I look at the raw data that actual specialists are using to determine this, the more it looks just horrifying to me. And records have already been set, even May, for record temperatures, including 111 degrees. Was that in Vietnam? I forget where that was, but 111 degrees as a daytime high temperature in May. So there's a long, hot summer between now and when these books come out in finished copy. So I won't be thinking about them, even Beyond the Wall, which really, really tempts me to actually take the physical book and read the whole thing. I probably won't. I probably can't justify doing that until early September when I get the finished copy. But those are our 2 books, Economics and East Germany. Once again, I have an occasion to say that I love my job. So that's the mail for today, that plus the TLS, and the problem of evil, which is a gigantic stumbling block in Christian apologetics, the problem of evil. It wouldn't be a problem except for the character of your gods. The character of your gods, if you are a Christian, is that they are omnibenevolent, which means all the suffering, and also all-powerful, which means that all the suffering that you are seeing, not just human suffering, but chimpanzees dying of AIDS in the forest, all the suffering that you see has to be the intentional desire of your gods, which is not a burden that many theologies have put on themselves. It's an impossible one to carry. It's not the greatest obstacle of Christian apologetics. The problem of evil is up there, certainly. If you were going to do a top 10 problems with Christian apologetics, the problem of evil would be in the top 5. But the number 1 problem with Christian apologetics, the one that is go-to, as far as I'm concerned, it sweeps the field, is what is called divine hiddenness, which is that if you're a Christian or any other religion, your gods are not visible. They're not present. They're not observable in any way. There's no hint that anything along those lines that had ever been imagined by any human civilization has ever actually existed. Not the slightest single trace of any of it, which I think is far more of a kryptonite bullet than the problem of evil. I don't like a lot of what the problem of evil, usually the way it's usually stated, smuggles in theological implications anyway, by implying, first of all, that such a thing as evil with a capital E exists. It, of course, does not. It's conditional. it's situational, but also that it was put here. That it's this thing that's detachable from the circumstances of the world. It's this thing that was put here, which is a theological contention. But anyway, let's not get me talking on apologetics and theodicy, or we'll be here all day. Although, if I make 50 videos, we'll be here all day anyway. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video. 2 new nonfiction works, and I will see you soon. Thank you, booktube.